All right, guys, what's up? I originally tried to do this on recorded video, but uh, whatever, for whatever reason, when I record my screen on my iPad, it wants to act a freaking monkey. So we're just gonna do it live, and then I'll upload it that way. All right. So anyway, I'm in Procreate. I've got the new beta version, the 5.4, I think it's what it is. Let's double check real quick. I got an email to test out the new beta, so that's what we're doing. So yeah, this is the version. Welcome to the pre-release version of Procreate 5.4. Please note this will install over your app, blah, 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 blah. All right, so this is kind of run through. I'm gonna read through this real quick. Please note this will install over your App Store version of Procreate. We recommend backing up your important artwork and brushes and not installing if you are currently using the app for professional work. Now, I did go ahead because when I first was installing this beta version, I wasn't sure if it was going to delete my old artwork. So what I did do to make sure is I actually ended up backing my important stuff on a flash drive just in case. Thankfully, it did not delete my stuff that I am aware of at the moment. I saw everything seemed to be seemed to be the same, so it didn't seem like anything was removed. But let's continue on. But that might not be the case with everyone. So if you're currently working, okay, the pre-release version will expire after 90 days, and you will still need to install Procreate 5.4 from the App Store once it is released, which is completely fine. Please send through any issues to beta@procreate.com, especially if you experience any issues upgrading your brush library. Then it goes on to say this update delivers an all-new brush library, bursting forth with hundreds of brushes, plus there is buckets more to love in this update, like search and libraries. We're going to check out the search feature because I did not try that out last time when I was recording it. We've had lots of fun with this massive overhaul. Now it's your turn. So new brushes. This is big. Get ready to express yourself in a whole new way with Procreate's new brush collection. 18 new sets with over 150 brushes built from the ground up with our brush developer pre-owned brush maker Kyle T. Webster, who used to, if you don't know, he used to work for Adobe. Now he works with Procreate. It's like being handed the keys to your own fully stocked art store. One, it's filled with brushes and styles that combine real-world familiarity. Geez, I can't pronounce that word. With the endless possibilities of digital art, the beloved classic brush library is still available at a pinch. So brush search, we see you brush collectors, and we are here for you. Brush search has arrived. This highly requested feature will make finding the ideal brush so much faster. To search, simply swipe down in the library and start typing text or emoji. Brush libraries, we'll work on that. Brush file management. Night by protecting and purchase brush collection. Backup organization, maybe not. New brush library leads to collection of even more brush settings without anti-aliases, using alpha threshold, or customize a pressure curve for the entire brush. Brush preview, this is something that is new that I've noticed when I was looking into it. The brush preview, brush thumbnails now better match how the brush will paint on the canvas. With the new preview tab and brush studio, adjust thumbnail size, wet, mix, tilt, and pressure settings, and check out exactly how the thumbnail will look in the brush panel. Color improvements, this is for iPad mini owners. Color history is now visible on all devices, including the small but mighty ones. There are so much. Okay, oh, sorry. Okay, there are new color palettes. Okay, so in the previous audio, I was like, I swear some of these color palettes in here are freaking new, and they are. So I was not tripping. There are some fresh new color palettes. If you can't see them, select Restore example palettes from the plus menu and the palette panel. So, okay, there are new brush palettes. So I was not tripping when they did that. The one thing that I am happy about that they added was the custom brush set icons. Customize your brush sets icon so that you can quickly find the set you need. You can pick an icon from a list or rename a set with an emoji at the beginning. As always, our team is helpful, blah, 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 blah. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the new Procreate. So, well, technically it's not new, but you know what I'm trying to say here. So, let's delete that. So I will say one thing automatically, they do this. Hopefully there's no issues here. But even if you go to delete, this layout is new, and specifically with just the presentation of it is new. It's not what it used to look like. So I'm just gonna delete that. So we're gonna do a new one. I'm just gonna go ahead and do, we'll do 4K. What I'm gonna do is I am going to change the background color to a slight off-white here. So we're gonna go to the library. So I'm gonna go, so this is the classic library. And some of the changes I noticed when I first opened up this beta version was the way that the menu looks. The corners of the as far as I don't think they looked like this before. The corners of the brushes or the category areas are curved, which I think before they kind of looked like I'll use black. They kind of looked like this, I think, or something similar to it. I might be tripping, but I think that's what they used to look like before, and now they're like this, and they're smaller. So maybe they used to look like this, but were probably longer. But I do know this does seem updated and improved upon as well. Like the aesthetic of it looks better. One thing I will say that they have done that I genuinely do like is, and I think it's new, I don't think it's something that was in the older version, was that it remembers or it keeps the brush that you used last in that category selected. So if I go to pixels and I pick the 12-inch, and then I go to inking, and then maybe I'm tripping, maybe it was like that before, and I go to this one, and then I go to here, and then I go here. Those last brushes that I picked within that category is still selected. Like I said, I'm not quite sure if that was how it was before. Maybe someone can tell me, but that's what I thought. I think that's new. I'm not quite sure. So one thing that I didn't notice you could do is you can, so to get to the other libraries within your brush set here, there's two different ways you can do it. You can click this little small arrow here and go to libraries and then select which library you want. I wonder if you can move these actually. Yes, you can. All right then. So I'm going to move this over here. There we go. So you can do that, or you can just pinch in and then it takes you back to the library. So I know they said there was a feature where you can search for a brush. So if you scroll down, the search button pops up, and I'm just going to put in texture. And as soon as I put into start typing out texture, these are the brushes that have the name texture in it, or those particular characters at the beginning. So this is definitely going to help, or this is definitely going to, you're definitely going to want to start properly naming your brushes in order to help you find them a lot easier if you need to. Because the one specifically that I'll be looking for would be my textured ink brush. That's the one that I use. And actually what I want to do is rename this. I don't need to rename it. It doesn't need to be texture ink 1. It just needs to be textured ink. And we're going to apply that. And that's under my dragon brush set. Now, you can also, so you can also search within that library instead of just searching, back to libraries, instead of just searching all the libraries, or is it, let me see something. I'm going to type in tiger. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to go back to libraries. I'm just going to go to classic library real quick. And then I'm going to search tiger. And it lets you know what library it's in too. So tiger is under Procreate library. If I do texture, this is where it's showing. So for whatever reason, this one doesn't, so it's showing anything that has to deal with texture. So it's showing texture soft, texture ink, texture blend, texture line art, texture monoline, paper texture, and then it has the comics category, which is a category that I created, a library that I created. It's under comics, I have texture ink, and it even has brush sets, and then it says classic library texture. So if I click that, it takes me to the classic library texture set of brushes. I'm gonna pinch this shut. But the funny thing is, so if I go down here again, if I do texture again, and the only reason I'm doing texture is because I have my ink brush within, under the brush that I created for inking digitally is called texture ink. So there's two texture inks. There's this one here, and there's the one that says that's under the comics part that's under, that has the texture ink brush. So if I push texture ink, I think this might take me to the classic library, which it did. And there's my texture ink brush. But I know because I wanted to have my brushes specifically for my comic art, I did create a new brush library specifically that says comics. And if I click into that under inks, I do have my texture brush as well. So that brush is in there as well. So I wonder if, let me see something. F pencil. So let's do that. Let's go to, let me see something. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to type in F. So, okay, I see what it's doing. Okay, so this is what it's doing from what I can see. Whenever you're searching a pencil, the first results, if there are any within, I think, the library that you're in, those are going to pop up first. Because right now I'm in my comics library, and I have two F pencils there. I have the F pencil square and then just a regular F pencil. And there are pretty much copies of the pencils that I have in my classic library under my own brush set, which is the F pencil square and the F pencil. So I think what it's doing is it's going to show you what's what matches your search feature within the current library that you are in. And if there's anything else that matches that out in another library, it will give you the library, the brush library, and then provide those pencils. So if I do ink, right? These are the two ink brushes that I have within my comics brush library. But in the classic library, these are all the brushes that have the word ink in it. And then the new library, the Procreate library, these are all the ones that have the INK has ink within its name, and it provides those. And then we also go into brush sets, comics, inks, because that's the title of that category within that brush set. Classic library, there's the inking category, and then the Procreate library, which is the newer library, there's the category inks under that one. So it's literally giving you everything that goes within that category. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. I actually like that a lot, because if you want to, if you're changing out of your current library set, you're going to know, because it's going to indicate if it's in another library, another brush library. And then if you want to go to a specific set within a different library, you're allowed to do so. So comics, ink, classic library, inks, or Procreate library, ink. So if I wanted to do the new brushes within the Procreate library under the inks category, I can just click that and it'll take me there. Cool. I like that. Very cool. Let's see what else we got going on when it comes to the library. So this was one that I created already. I'm starting to move stuff over, but this is specifically going to be the library set for my comic pencils and stuff. So I have like the penciling for like pencils, the inks, and then painting. So I have my flats. So to kind of go to, so when it comes to that, if you want to add something that you have in a different library, it's going to be the same way you would do if you wanted to move something over. You would just take it, the brush, and then you would drag it to wherever you want it. Because I do still want to keep this just in case, what I'm going to do is the round hard, I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to click and hold, and then what I'm going to do, hold on, stop it, and make sure it's selected. I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to go back to libraries. I'm going to go to my comics, and I'm going to drop this in. And now I have that also in my comics thing. So I'm going to rename this, because I need to take out, I don't need that 2 in there. It just does that because it was duplicated within the previous thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and it's a hard round, right? So if I do this, because right now I'm currently in my comics library, my comics brush library, I'm going to go here. I'm going to do hard round. Actually, I'll just do hard. There we go. So this is giving me everything that we have that has the word hard in it, or the spelling within it, right? So hard round, we're in the comics brush set, so it's gonna have, that's gonna be the first one in there. And then in the classic library, these are all the brushes with the word hard in it. So we have hard round, hard medium brush, or medium hard brush, hard brush, medium hard blend, hard blend, medium hard airbrush. So it's giving me everything I've got going on there. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to go back to, and then you have, of course, the restore Procreate libraries. We're not going to mess with that because I don't want to mess anything up. All right, so let's clear this. I'm going to go to, so for those, if you have Procreate, you've already probably played with the classic brushes that are within Procreate. So we're not going to mess with those. You can change the icons to these brushes. So these are the blending. Why is this in here? I have no fine tip. I don't know why this is in here, but whatever, we'll delete that because that doesn't need to be in there. But so these are also my comic brushes that I use here. Solid ink. Some of these I might transfer over, some of these I might not, to my the new library set that I have. Depends. All right, anyway, let me see. So let's go to the new library, which is the Procreate library, and we're going to play with all of these. I'm going to clear this. So we're going to start with the pencils. I'm going to do a basic drawing, so pretty much just an eye for all of these drawings to make it simple. It'll give an actual item that's being drawn versus just a line. So that way you guys can see how these brushes work. I'm going to change my palette. So actually, let's go over the palettes real quick. Some of these are the ones that I've created and or have added. These are, and then also the ones that have come with Procreate. But I think where it becomes new is not the Zorn palette. I think that's already in there. Crazy Cat colors. And I think those are all stuff that I've gotten from other places. Prismacolor, no, I think that's in there. So I think this one is new. Oops. I'm not quite sure though. I think this one is new. This one, the Art Deco basic and colorful palette, maybe. Brown and gray tone, maybe. I think this one's new as well. The exotic one I think is new. Cute colors might be new. Harmonic earth tones, maybe. The Lego might be new. Metallics, maybe. Sweet and romantic palette, those might be new. And warm and light warm. So some of these are definitely new. I'm just not quite sure which ones, considering that I have downloaded a few color palettes from other artists that they had available. So I'm not quite sure. But I do know some of these are new. I'm going to go with my grayscale color though. The Fantasy Cools, these are colors that I extracted. And also the Cyberpunk, those are ones that I extracted colors from an image that I liked and kind of stuck with that. Afro Samurai, I literally picked an Afro Samurai image that I generally like and just extracted the colors from there. Same thing with Fantasy 2, Fantasy Cool 3. These ones, I have no idea where those came from. They came from images, but I couldn't tell you. I think I was playing around. I think I was playing around with these, with the color choices. This one I was playing around with as well. This is usually my go-to palette for sketching and stuff. But I am going to go with the cool colors. Delete that color swatch because that doesn't need to be in there. So I'm going to select my grayscale color palette. I have neutral gray, which I think is down here, warm gray, and then like I think this is neutral gray, warm gray, and my cool grays. So let's start working with some of these. I'm just gonna start drawing eyes, and we'll work from there. So we're gonna go to the pencils, and I've already adjusted some of the colors on these brushes when I was doing the first recording because I needed to. So I'm having to press fairly hard with this one. That's what it looks like if I'm kind of drawing lightly and then drawing hard. So you guys can see all this stuff. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing with these. So there's not going to be too much to go over. Whoa. I don't know why the opacity is so low on this one. I don't remember changing that. But maybe I did and didn't remember. I'm going to try to keep the colors the same with all of the art because I feel like the color does play into how maybe the light will, how something looks, because I like if I change this now to maybe I'm gonna change this like a red color, same brush as this one up here. I feel like it makes it look a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. So now let's go back to that reddish, that warm gray I was working on. And I'll try to keep all of the brushes, the categories. So like right now I'm in pencils, so I'll try to keep all the pencils together and all the pens together, stuff like that. I'm probably gonna have to adjust some of the sizes on that, or I'll have to make another layer and do it that way because some of these brushes, do not do well when they're small, and you kind of need to have the settings bigger. So that's 4. So we'll do this one. Like this one's too big. Oh, I think that's just the way it was turned. The brush was turned. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Okay. So I'm not gonna test all the way these, but like turning and stuff like that. Like I'm not gonna do that with the brushes. I'm just gonna treat the brushes like how I would normally draw, and then if that's something you want to play with the beta, then you can definitely do that. I am gonna see if, because I feel like the sizes on these brushes might have reset. 6, 7. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. So that's me just trying to, that wasn't intentional, it's just because the way I was holding the pencil was at a different angle. Especially with some of the brushes, if you push extremely hard, that line can get really big and really thick. And same thing if you draw small, sometimes that line isn't even noticeable. And with these particular drawings, I'm not trying to draw hard, like I'm trying to have like a medium pressure. But sometimes you kind of have to draw hard for some of these to actually show up, just because the way the brush settings are. And I haven't messed with any of the brush settings for any brushes whatsoever. So that's pencils. Let's do a new layer, and this will be pens. So we'll do rename, and then we'll start with pens. Now there are some that I feel like might have a good application for, and I might make note of that. Like this one, I feel like if you're doing some type of horror slash gritty comic, for line work, I feel like this would be like a good go-to brush. Of course, change it how you see fit, but I feel like that would be a good go-to brush. This brush in particular, I don't feel is they put it under inks or under pens, but I feel like it's more of like a pencil, but that's just me. Like it feels more like a pencil than anything. This one does not have any pressure sensitivity to it, so whatever line you draw, that's the line you're gonna get, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it has slight pressure sensitivity, very slight. Or a difference between pressing hard and light within that set size. I know I'm drawing different eyes here, but like this, the way I'm drawing them is a little bit different, but I mean, you get the gist. I just want to kind of show you what these drawings or what these pencils can do if you're actually drawing something versus just some people will just draw like a line. They'll just be like, oh, this is what it looks like, and that's it. And there's nothing to kind of, I guess, get a good feel of, if that makes sense. This pencil and there's this particular brush and there's another brush, but they remind me of the art style of Marcus Matu, Mestri. I forget. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but it's the guy that does like the framed ink drawings. He has a very unique style when it comes to like his brush work, his work, and I feel like there are definitely some brushes that give me that remind me of his style off rip. So so that's what 4, 5, 6. So we're on the 7th brush, and this is one of those brushes. So this one too, honestly, I feel like if you thicken that line work, actually, if I did like this and then like, because he's got some, like the way he does some of his stuff, I feel like you could probably get a similar style with this brush and this brush. This I'm gonna have to bring the size down. This is definitely sensitive to pressure on this one. I know I'm doing all the eyes all one direction. I think that's just going to help with making sure that everything looks uniform when it comes to how these brushes look. I actually like this brush. This isn't bad. I like this brush. I feel like I could, if I changed a few things, that brush would really work for me for sketching or whatever. Technically, it's under the pen section, but that's cool. So now we're going to go to inks. We're going to do a new layer. Rename inks. And I'm not sure when the beta, when the actual update for the 5.4 is going to happen. I don't think they set a date for it yet, because even the beta right now, it's only for, I think what it said, 90 days of when I downloaded it or updated it, whatever, today pretty much. And then I think 90 days starting today. So I'm not sure when the actual update, like the actual real update, will be. Hopefully before the end of the year. Hopefully. This one you definitely have to apply some pressure to, because if I'm drawing lightly, that's what it looks like, me barely pressing down. So some of these brushes you do need to apply some pressure for it to actually show up on your canvas. This one I think I like. I think I liked this one. Yeah. This is one of those also, like if you're doing like a gritty comic, this would be one of those brushes that I like. Like the splatter, like the splatter effect that it has, like if you were to accidentally press like a felt tip pen down and like let the ink splatter out, like I feel like that's that effect there. And you know, not every brush is going to be for you, or you know, not every brush is made for everyone, so just be mindful of that. Some people might like brushes that I genuinely can't stand, and some people might hate the brushes that I am drawn to. So keep that in mind. What I like, you might not, and what you like, I might not. This reminds me of like a watercolor brush, like the brushes that they have where you would put like a little bit of water in it and go over like your watercolor pencil that you drew out on paper. If I get, that's the effect that I'm getting with that. This is inks, right? Yeah, inks. Okay, just making sure. And once again, like I said, a lot of these brushes I'd already adjusted the size of the brush here the first go around, because a lot of these I think were preset to 30 for the size and they were way too big. So I had to adjust it and to a size that worked for me and canvas and drawing and stuff. So I think there's like a gnat on me. So new layer, and we're gonna go into markers. Now the markers category, I definitely made a lot of adjustments to the sizes because a lot of these were just like huge, huge brushes. So we're going to go to markers. And like this particular brush right here, oh crap. Maybe that's another thing. Let me see. Undo, maybe if that's even a possibility. Undo of brush size adjustment and opacity. If that's even possible, because I accidentally just changed the brush size to this brush and I have no idea what it was set. I have no idea what I previously had it set to. And that can be a hassle if you haven't saved your brush settings or saved a preset size, and now you have to figure out what you did or go back over that line work or redo that line work all over again. So this is me pressing light and this is me pressing hard. I feel like the opacity for me when I press hard is actually less. And the brush size is at a 1%. So that's why I say these marker brushes, I had to definitely adjust them. And like I said, I haven't messed with the settings with inside the brushes because I wanted to keep all of that the same. So I know there's a setting you could go into to adjust how big or small a brush can get, but I wanted to leave that all alone for right now. This is a nice, I feel like this one is a nice line. It's got like a little bit of a texture to it for the markers. I feel like Procreate did really good when it comes to adding certain types of brushes, because it's like, especially if you're someone who does a lot of traditional work and you're used to maybe say working with Copic markers or working with gouache or watercolor, having these brushes in here, hopefully they give you a very similar feel to where you can create digital art that is already similar to the traditional art that you create. Because they even have like street art, and it's specifically like more of the it's specifically like spray paint. So for people who do like graffiti and stuff, they might absolutely love those brushes, especially if they're planning stuff. It might give them a better idea of what they can expect that art to look like. And all of these pencils that I'm trying out, the opacity is at 100%. Like I did not mess with the opacity with these. The only thing I messed with was the actual brush size. So give you an idea, that's for the markers. Next thing is the pastels. Now these ones I definitely had to mess with the size because These are just big. They're just big. There's nothing I can really do about that. Like I said, I didn't want to change any of the settings within the actual brushes. So with these ones, the eyes are going to be more simplified just because of the way the pastels work. And I can't really give too much feedback on these because pastels was not something I actually dealt with. I think I might have worked with pastels when I was in high school, but that was many, many years ago. I'm just going to give you an idea. Like I graduated in 07. So, and I think I had maybe done one assignment in pastels because we had to, because that was what the media that we were working with at the time, or the medium that we were working with at the time. And then as soon as we were done working with that, I never touched pastels again. And there are some artists out there that do amazing work in pastels that are on like YouTube, and I watch some of their stuff. There's specifically a guy that I can't think of his name, but he does beautiful work with pastels, especially because his stuff is so vibrant. He uses like very bright colors that you think that just, I don't know, like his work is freaking crazy good. And it's so funny because I love like there's certain work that's like vibrant and stuff, and I love that artwork. I think it's really cool and fascinating, and it's stuff that I would definitely hang on my wall. But as far as me doing it myself, it's not it's not my style. Like it's not an interest of mine to use colors that bright and stuff. I for whatever reason I generally do like drawing in like monotones or muted colors for my own art. So yeah, some of these pastels, beautiful. I like this one here. And this one. Um, I feel like they have a nice texture. But like I said, once again, I probably wouldn't really touch those. So next we're gonna go into oils. And if I remember, I'll show you guys some of the new textures and new brush shapes they also have added to the libraries. So this is oils. And same thing that ooh, that's the first brush, that's the last brush. Dang it. So let's do this. Same thing that I did with the pastel brushes. I did have to go in and adjust the sizes because of how big some of these brushes are right out the gate. And like even some of these, like the brush a little bit harder. Some of these I feel like you're definitely gonna have to work with to really get a good grasp of how these brushes act, to feel comfortable with drawing with them on a regular basis. Because some of these, like it's just they don't lay down as easily as other ones do. If you if that makes any sense for you. Because like this one lays down decent, but like you're gonna have to press hard to really get a lot more ink on the canvas. Versus this one, I'm pressing fairly light and I'm still being able to lay down a lot. So like I said, the only reason I'm drawing an eye is to kind of give you guys an idea of what, to give you something, some type of uh, some type of object to go that's being drawn with these pencils versus just a line, because I feel like only drawing a line can tell you only so much with a brush. So next we're going to go to paints. We're going to go to the top one here. I'm going to rename and we're going to do paints. And go back to brushes. Make sure that I have it on there. All right. We're just kind of going through these as quickly as possible. Because there are a lot of brushes that they added. I feel like this brush here kind of reminds me of a like a like if I were to use a brush to draw or to write in Chinese, I feel like this would be one of the brushes that I would use. Like it has that brush feel to it. Yes, I do know some Chinese, so I do know how to write in Mandarin. Or simplified Chinese, but I do speak a little bit of Mandarin Chinese. I feel like, and I'm not sure how you guys feel, but I feel like the texture of a brush may help or may have an impact slightly on how you draw something. But maybe that's just me. Because I feel like the brushes that have more of that brush feel or that like chiseled edge, like I'm more quick to draw quicker lines than if I didn't. So now we're gonna do gouache. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. So we're gonna do gouache next. So you're gonna go to gouache, you're gonna go to that first pencil, or that first brush. Excuse me, guys. Now, I have not really used gouache before. I've used acrylic gouache, which is not reactivated by water. I have not used straight up regular gouache before, so I don't know if there would be a difference between how I'm gonna say regular gouache would work and acrylic gouache, because I know regular gouaches can be reactivated by water. And the only time I've ever used regular gouache was when I was mixing it in with my acrylic gouache because I didn't know that there was a difference. So I never used it like solo by itself. So, and it was old gouache too. It was like gouache that I had when I was going to art school, and that was one of the supplies they had given us was gouache, and it was like the primary colors plus black and white. And I never used it until after I left, or until after I left art school. So. I don't really think there's any of these that, like I said, because I've just never messed with gouache. I don't know if there's any of these that I would probably play with outside of doing this. Um, I don't know, honestly. Maybe this one and maybe this one because of the texture, but I don't know. But that's gouache. And like I said, I know it looks kind of plain and kind of looks weird, but if I were to change this color around, like it's got a different feel to it, right, with that color. So that's why I wanted to kind of keep everything one color all the way through versus jumping colors. So that's gouache. The next one is watercolors. I really wish, I would love to know how some of these people create or how they get the idea for some of their names for their brushes. Not because it's bad or anything, like I'm just curious because like this brush here is called Black Swan. Like I wonder how they came up with that name. Like what did they were they working on creating the brush and then they were maybe out in nature and saw a swan, or like I don't like did they create a black swan using that brush? Like I'm just curious as to how they come up with some of the names because I think that, like I find the names interesting on some of these brushes, like really cool names. This one's got like a paper texture to it that I really like as if you were using like cold pressed like watercolor paper. This reminds me also of like a brush if I was to write in Chinese. This would be one of those brushes that I would definitely play with. I'm trying to think. Boom, 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 boom. Of course, I would have to of course, change the size and stuff like that, but I feel like that'd be a cool brush to play with. This feels like more like a dry detail brush for watercolor. And I don't really use a lot of watercolor, but I've watched a lot of videos of watercolor artists just because I find it really fascinating, the way they're able to create certain art. At some point I would like to get into watercolor. I do have watercolors, but I just haven't experimented as much as I could with watercolors. Just trying to work on other projects, honestly. Actually, you know what? A lot of these brushes, not just the watercolor set, but other sets as well, would definitely come in handy with the fantasy field guidebook that I am wanting to work on. Like the effects on certain pages or drawing certain creatures. A lot of these might come in handy to add that look as if it was drawn like out in nature by someone. So now we're gonna do charcoals. Oops, forgot to see. Gonna go to charcoals. We're gonna go to the top here. This is another one that I had to definitely adjust the sizes because they were big. When you first open them. This one I do like. This kind of reminds me of like a pencil on its side. That's got some pretty cool texture to it. Probably wouldn't use it, but still cool texture. And especially if you're trying to get a more of a traditional feel from your art with Procreate, I feel like these brushes, the new brush sets, are definitely going to help with that. Because the amount of texture that you can add, that first of all, that the amount of texture that a lot of these brushes automatically have, and then the fact that they've got so many added textures to their library, I feel like it's definitely gonna help give certain art a more traditional feel to it. All right, so now we're gonna go into basics. So we're gonna rename basics. And I need to see canvas, how many layers I can do. Okay, available layers of, well, max layers is 114. I've only used 11. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. So basics, let's go ahead and start working with these. I feel like that's your basic line pencil or line brush. This is more like a felt tip because it doesn't change with pressure. This one's really just, I feel like, texture. If you were maybe doing like an experimental comic, or you were doing like maybe cross hatching or some type of texture, this would be one of those brushes you'd probably use. I feel like this brush and the brush following after it is one of those brushes you would use if you wanted to make a background look blurry. You would draw it with this because it already has that faded in the background, misty, no solid line type feel to it. I don't really see the difference between this one and this one. Honestly, I don't know, but hey, maybe if it's bigger. Let me see, maybe if it was bigger. Oh, I would use this to lay in flats. So let's go to this one here, last one. All right, now we're going to go to lettering. What's up here? Now the lettering ones, I do expect some type of drawing assist because you're talking about lettering or calligraphy. So I assume that there's going to be some type of help to make sure that lines are smooth and the way you want them to. So I'm expecting a little bit of a different feel for these when I draw. Like as you see, like when I draw the circle, like that you can tell there's some type of assist going on there. This one I like because it's got like this double line already added into it, which is pretty cool. And that's pretty, it gets pretty big, so I might have to, there we go. This is one of the weird ones. But unfortunately, because it doesn't work well in a small size, I kind of had to keep this one this size. And if I press harder, that's what it looks like. So that one has a pretty cool effect. And drawing hard, like that light and then a hard line at the bottom of each eye, I think definitely helps you get a better feel for the texture and stuff within the brush, because you would have never known this brush would have did that if you would have pressed super hard, unless you know you did it by accident. And same thing with this one, like because you can't really see that double line within the small one, but if you press hard, or made a bigger brush, you'd be able to see that detail. This one reminds me of, especially if you like were a 90s, or if you remember that if you had a computer in the late 90s, uh, early 200s, the Windows, when they had the screensavers, and you had the one that it was like a pipe that just constantly went into it, like went around into itself and went like this and like that, and then it just kept bouncing off the screen. Like this is what this brush reminds me of. Like the nostalgia of that is crazy. And last brush here called Ruby Rose. This one, I would say if you do comics, this is probably going to end up being the brush that you use for panels. And you're probably like, how is that possible? I don't see how that's going to work, especially if when you draw, you know, there's those lines, right? Well, if you're a comic book artist, you can do a panel here. I'm going to hold it to square it out, right? So that's a square. Then I'm going to take this color, I'm going to drop it in here, and then I'm going to, actually, let me undo that. I'm going to do black real quick. Sorry. I'm going to drag it in here and then just expand it out. And now I have a black border. I have a panel where I didn't have to fight and struggle to make a panel. And then if I wanted to do another panel, right? Go here and then here. Of course, I would have to make this a little bit neater, so that way when I do the thing here, it looks a little bit better. And then I can go ahead and drop that black in. The heck did I do? I don't know what I did on that one. So here, and that's that threshold. And then if I wanted to, go ahead and the same pencil that I drew with, I'm going to erase with. And now I've got clean panels for a comic, right? And then just kind of examples, gonna kind of play with this real quick. If I would do pencils, then I can go back here and be like, okay, so here's this person, blah blah blah, and then whatever I got going on over here, right? So I can definitely see people. I can definitely see comic book artists using this brush for panels, for sure. So yeah. So let's go back to, that was under lettering. Yeah, that was under lettering. So now we're going to go into one of my favorite categories, is comics, to see what they've got going on here. I can see this being a go-to for inking, this brush here. I can see this one being a go-to for inking as well, if you've got like a some type of dark, gritty type comic. That eye is annoying the heck out of me. I do not like that eye. I don't like how I did it. Yo, what the heck? I'm not really liking this. There we go. I can see this one being used for line work as well. This one is one of the brushes that reminds me of the guy from Framed Ink and Framed Perspective. And this one as well. Like something that would probably produce that type of work. This definitely reminds me of like the old school comics. This one I can't really draw with because it's just like a texture, but I'm not sure where someone would use this brush for. But cool texture though. This one's just a texture brush as well. I really can't really draw with this because it's just texture. So I'm just gonna do that. Same thing with this one, I think. No, this one I can somewhat draw with. I feel like for a lot of these brushes, if you did your original line work, right? You had a layer with your line work on it, and then you did another layer above that, either mess with the opacity of the layer or the opacity of the brush and did like this over it, I feel like it would give that classic comic book printer look to it. This one too, if you played with the settings, you could get that feel too. You could get that feel as well of classic comics. This one too. So these are the ones in comics. Now we're going to go to the design one. So for the design series, for the design set, some of these you can't draw. They're just a straight up pattern. And those are near the end, I think. So let's go in here. I can see this one being used for comics too. I can definitely see this one being used for sketching. This one I can see maybe concept artists using it. Just because the way that you're able to get so much different types of line in there just by messing with the pressure. This one I feel like you would use if you're doing like some type of instructional book where you have to cut stuff out. This would be one of those brushes because I'm not sure how you would use this brush. Now these ones are just patterns. These last three are just patterns. So no matter how you try to work with it, it's just a straight up pattern. And maybe you can change the settings to where it's different, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave the settings as they are for right now. So that's design. Now we're going to go into grunge. All right, going with the first one here. And I feel like a lot of these are more texture than anything. Like these are supposed to be used more for texture than anything. But what do I know? Maybe there's going to be someone who's able to do amazing, oopsies, that's too big, do amazing artwork with these types of brushes. I'm having to go over this with multiple layers because it's just not pulling up. It's not laying solid like the other brushes, like previous brushes. This one, definitely I can see someone using for inking. I think this one is just texture. Yeah, this one's just texture. And so is this one. So that's grunge. Now we're going to go into street art, which is the like spray paint stuff. So first one. Let me go ahead and actually charge my phone. Put my charge. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and start working on some of this stuff here. See, it's got like that splatter effect to it. One of these, when you press hard, like there's no, it's just see like that when it's like that, or it just looks like this short blast, no matter how long, no matter how far you try to drag that line. I have to draw this smaller. Like that one's pretty cool because it just kind of uh like stops and picks back up, I think. This one, I'm not sure. I don't think this one works well with a smaller brush. And there's this one I'm gonna have to do. Is that the last one? No, it's the one before last. And then here's the last one here. And the reason I'm drawing it big and down here is because of, oh, okay, that's actually not too bad. I thought it was going to be a lot the spray was going to be bigger for the larger brush. So there's that for the street art. Now we're going to go into digital. And this one definitely does play into the pressure. How much pressure you're putting down is going to affect what's happening with the brush. So and you'll see that as I do this, and then I might have to do this one a different color so you guys can actually see what's going on. So let's do like a purple. Because I think a lot of these brushes, you're gonna have to do them in color to kind of see the effects of what I'm trying to show. This one is like you can see a little bit of that texture, and there's like a different color mixing in with that. Hopefully it's picking up on camera. There's like bits of like orangish type color. The harder you press down, and even you can see it slightly within the eye, but not too much. And then of course there's not really anything when you're just drawing lightly. So like I said, a lot of these are pressure sensitive to get a different effect with the the pen or the brush. See, like this one here, look at that, all that texture, different colors and stuff. Even within the eye, it's there too. This one. And then there's that. This one actually does change color. I feel like. No, because this looks like two different colors. But I wonder if that's because of how I'm turning it. I don't know. But that's it. There's that brush. I don't know if there's anything going on with that. No, it's just more like I don't know, just a weird texture and stuff. These ones I'm not quite sure. Like, I don't think I would use them for anything, but there's going to be someone who finds uh, something to really use these for. So these one, of course, the different dots, different colors. And there's one more, no, two more within this. So same thing as, almost the same thing as that first one, or as the previous one. And then we've got this one here. And that texture there, a bunch of blocks. So that's the digital, and now we're going to go into creative. And this will be it for the brushes, and then we'll go into the actual new stuff that they've added on some of this stuff. So new name, creative. There we go. We're going to change this back to black. And we're, oh, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and start working on some of these. Is this showing up? Hardly. I'm just going to kind of run through these. This reminds me of fingerprints. This one's just weird. I don't know what you would use it for, but it's pretty cool though. As if you're doing some type of abstract. This reminds me of fingerprints too, actually. And then 2 more brushes. This is more for texture than anything, I think, because that's what it looks like. Oops, that's what it looks like. You press hard. And last one here. This one's a weird one. So I'm going to draw it kind of big so you can kind of see what's going on with that. Like splotchy effect, like tie-dye. That's the creative. So that's all the brushes within the new library. And then I'm gonna go here real quick. So I'm gonna do the ballpoint pen real quick. If I were to go into, I know there's different settings within the brushes. I'm just going to kind of go through this real quick because I don't know what might have changed. I know they did change a few things, but because I never really messed with this stuff too much, I don't know what all they might have changed within this stuff. So I'm just going to go through it real quick so you guys can look at it. Maybe you'll see the color barrel roll. There's that. I know that's new. Pressure, properties. The preview is different. This is different here. I do like how they have that. And the about the brush is the same. But if we go into the shapes, right? We go into edit, import, and source library. They have added new shapes. So there are new shapes added to this library. Like, I think the leaves is new. I think cloud shape. No, I think that's regular. I think that's been there. I think flowing is new. Flakes, gloop, lightning, mess, nebulous might have already been there. Orbs, I think, is new. Rust, too, I think, is new. Sparkles might be new. Tendril might be new. Torn might be new. Water bead, water blotch, those might be new. Water flicks, so that might be new. Intense water, like some of the stuff I think is fairly new, like the water bleed, that's new. Tie ink, these are new, I'm pretty sure. Shade might be new. Soft wax might be new. But there's a lot of new stuff that they've added in here, like acrylic. These acrylic ones are new, definitely new. Because you've got acrylic dabs, acrylic stamps, distress, garden brush, garden grass, garden gum, garden leaf, garden rocks, gouache drops, gouache splash, gouache splatter, gouache streak. All this stuff is new. Oil dab, oil dash, that's new. Simple blotch might be new. Like a lot of this stuff is new. So that's the shape, that's the new shapes. If we go into the grains, which I mean, if I wanted to, I can go here and then go edit and then import source library. Let's look at the grains here because I'm pretty sure there might be some new ones. Murray, I think that's how you pronounce it. I think that one's new. I'm not quite sure. You have 70s fever, which I'm not sure if is new or not. You've got Cage. I'm not sure if that's new. Heisen? I don't know how you pronounce it. I think that's new. Light Peaks might be new. Rust. I think maybe one of the Rust ones might be new. Maybe Rust 3. Worn Dots, I think, is new. I think Tire is new. Cardboard, I think, is definitely new, as well as Roller and Dirty Paper. And then Stained Paper, I think those are new. Acrylic Grit might be new. An Acrylic Mix. Acrylic Undercoat. Bacteria. The Tree one. The Face one. Cliff Face. I think those are all new. Crunchy Paper. DOF Dots. Light. I think those are all new. Distressed canvases, I think those are new. Dry acrylic wash is new. Acrylic or European paper, I think is all new. The glitch effects, I'm pretty sure is new. The gouache washes are new. As far as I remember, there's a lot of new stuff within the new Procreate. Even the Crackle, I think, is new as well. So a lot of new stuff, guys. Like I said, the major thing I think was the library overhaul, and yeah. So that's it for right now. Maybe I'll come back later and do a live illustration or live drawing of me doing a live drawing in Procreate, maybe doing some type of study or something. I'm not quite sure, and then maybe coloring or painting that in. But I don't know. But I hope this was beneficial for you guys, especially if you already do have Procreate and are wondering about the updates and the brushes that go along with it and what those brushes do. So thank you guys once again, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.